My name is Pavlo Burda, and I'm pleased to present the work done with my co-authors at the Eindhoven University of Technology on the influence of human factors on intention to report phishing emails. So phishing attacks are here to stay, and they are overall the cheapest and most effective cyber attack method currently employed. Organizations, both public and private, are the fisher's favorite target, and tailored phishing, like spear phishing, is a major attack vector to steal sensitive data and to deliver malware. So in the figure, you can see a simulated spear phishing attack, where a significant fraction of the targeted users has been victimized in the very first hours. This highlights how fast and dangerous are these attacks. So to defend against it, automatic detection methods have been developed. For example, reputation block lists or lists of malicious URLs in emails, and machine learning approaches to predict new attack instances. These methods are valuable but are not able to block all the possible attacks, especially tailored attacks like spear phishing, due to the unknown features of these attacks or because the methods are not accurate enough or complex to implement yet. And as a last line of defense, end users may detect incoming attacks and report them, for example, to the IT department of their organization. So looking at the figure, we can see the yellow vertical lines are reports from the users in that specific experiment. This kind of illustrates that reporting can quickly stop an attack. And by implementing an effective reporting process to counter this problem is not trivial at all. Indeed, there can be many nuances to do so. So, for example, most users will not simply report phishing emails because of motivations that drive their decisions and behavior. There are many technical and user interface nuances that need to be considered in the process. And also the human and organizational factors condition the intention to report suspicious emails. So we focus on addressing the research gap that exists in relating the human traits and attitudes to the intention to report phishing emails. And concretely, the goal of our study is to characterize human aspects leading to cybersecure behaviors, and in particular to phishing reporting. To do so, we ask the question, how do certain human factors that pertain to the individual and to the organization influence the intention to report suspicious phishing attacks? So to answer this question, we first need to identify constructs from previous research and existing theories relevant for our context. For example, these are the so-called organizational citizenship behavior or their antecedents. We call them OCBs. There are also, for example, personality traits from the Big Five theory, and there are also other factors that we call beliefs. So the OCBs are some individual behaviors that are discretionary, not directly or explicitly recognized by the formal reward system in an organization. For example, the predisposition of the employees to support colleagues in need, or constructive approaches to emerging problems. Also, the extant research showed that personality traits from the Big Five theory, in this case, affect many aspects of phishing-related possible behaviors and skills. So, for example, susceptibility to phishing or phishing reporting for our case. And the elements of the belief box in green have been tested also very often in the phishing reporting context, as this construct belongs to long-standing theories of human behavior and motivation, such as protection motivation theory or theory of planned behavior. And then on the right-hand side, we can see that there are constructs to measure some kind of behaviors. So previous research has defined these generic constructs to measure behaviors related to cybersecurity, again, and one of them is the so-called positive cybersecurity behaviors that include, for example, protective actions toward organizations' data, or the usage of password managers at work. And among them, there is also a reporting of suspicious emails, whose explicit relationship with OCBs, the traits and other factors, is rather unexplored. So, moreover, the effects of these factors on cybersecurity behaviors have been often investigated in isolation. Indeed, there is no unified theory or model that takes into account all these characteristics together, specifically for phishing reporting. Therefore, we measure a subset of these factors, of these different families of factors, and test their influence on the construct of the generic cybersecurity behaviors, which is used in research. And then we further assess the relationship of these factors with the specific intention to report phishing. We do so with a survey of 284 qualified participants on Amazon Mechanical Turk from the United States, the majority of which is from 18 to more than 50 years old, mostly on university-level education, and for the great part employed or self-employed, with at least an experience at their job from half to more than 2 years. The answers were given on a 5-point Likert scale, so from disagree to agree, and the survey completion time take on average 20 minutes. And overall, we had 15 hypotheses, which after the relevant validity checks were modeled in 3 regression models, whose parameters were estimated using the ordinary least squares approach. So here you can see a comparison of the effect sizes with the standardized coefficients that define the dependent variables of positive cybersecurity behaviors and intention to report. The estimation was done with and without controls, which in the end did not significantly affect any variable. So the first observation is that some factors that correlate with the generic cybersecurity behaviors do not correlate with the more specific intention to report, even if positive cybersecurity behaviors is a strong predictor of intention to report. For example, conscientiousness, which often occurs as a predictor of many behaviors related to phishing, including reporting, so correlates well with cybersecurity behaviors. However, it does not with intention to report, which is surprising with respect to previous results. Another observation is that altruism, for example, predicts specifically intention to report only, which overall makes sense. The most surprising observation is that individuals with high sportsmanship, individuals that are likely to accept an inconvenience for the benefit of the group, and in this case the inconvenience is the effort to report a phishing email, apparently are not keen to do so because there is a negative effect here. So this is somewhat counterintuitive, at least in our hypothesis. So the lessons, or some lessons we learned from this study, is that there are many human traits and tendencies that affect the intention of individuals to report phishing emails, and that the research results on these effects of these factors are rather fragmented and inconsistent. For example, we saw conscientiousness was not a predictor of intention to report. On the other hand, other factors that correlate with reporting were not predictors of the positive cybersecurity behaviors. Hence, previous findings may not be applicable to all security-related behaviors or practical applications that use this construct. Therefore, we believe that a unified model for reporting is necessary to better explain what drives phishing reporting and to provide more consistent results. For example, future developments may extend our model with more factors, such as cultural differences between populations, or psychological factors as the bystander effect, which is important in phishing reporting. Another implication of our finding is that some factors such as sportsmanship and altruism can be leveraged to design more effective anti-phishing training and awareness programs. For example, training programs may want to fight back the sportsmanship effect that we have seen before by highlighting the positive outcome of a phishing report during training. Or IT departments can implement feedback mechanisms to uphold the reporter's altruistic tendencies by acknowledging their role in protecting their peers. So overall, the organizational culture can be molded to cultivate these effects and eventually to strengthen the overall security posture of an organization. So for more insights, please consult our paper, and thank you for your attention.